peace, it seems, does not like to stay. Much like walking through the gardens of Tokyo and seeing the sakura blossoms bloom, they do not stay forever. It is wonderful to look at them, but in time they go away. China, the Qing Empire, has declared war. I admit there were some provocations from Japan. We've never seen eye to eye on much anyway. I was surprised at the level of response. I expected the border skirmishes to not devolve into full-scale battles, as generals quickly lost control of their troops on both sides. 4 Chinese generals, I've heard, were removed from command, and 3 of our own were removed as well. Korea, our protectorate, their emperor ordered 3 of his generals removed for their actions in leading the local Korean forces against them. It has become, how should I say this, a complete disaster. And now we're at war. Good times, as Alexander would say. The first whispers have been coming to me. There was a battle off the German port of Tsingtao, or well, it was a German treaty port. Apparently the Fuso, Choyo, and their battle group. The Fuso, I haven't talked about them much, have they? They're based off a design coming out of Great Britain. Designs I had heard whispers about and decided, well, we can match them. They call them Dreadnoughts, a new type or new style of designing. All big gun, uniform secondary batteries. They're not trying to do everything. They're trying to defend themselves and have some defense against torpedo boats, destroyers, and maybe a light cruiser or 2. Battleships, as a rule, aren't designed to take on destroyers. Well, their combat debut seems to have gone rather well. And although we lost another destroyer formation, because it seems we can't do that properly, that being keep destroyers alive, the fleet acquitted itself quite well, winning the battle. However, there was an incident. The Rida and the Asahi, 2 of our older battleships, were on patrol, and they stumbled upon a lone ship, a Chinese ship. For a solid few hours, the commanders failed to do anything. They fired at the ships, and the ship fired back. Our ship took hits that the Chinese vessel didn't take any. It took hours before finally they disengaged, re-engaged the next day, and then sunk the thing. I don't know if it's the battleship from the first battle they sunk, or if it's something else, and at this point I don't care. I personally ordered those 2 back into my office. As the Emperor's personal advisor, I have, well, some privilege, but I'm in charge of the ships, which kinda gives me a stake in this fight. I proceeded to dress them down for a solid 4.5 hours, going over every report I had. My own friends, who were next door to me, said they could hear me screaming in about 4 languages at some times. And they counted using chess pieces and a small chalkboard every time I swore, and placed a bet McGregor ended up winning it with 78 individual instances in English alone. Japanese, I'm afraid the count was probably much higher. I demanded that the two of them take their entire vessel's crew and go ashore. To which they almost laughed. Effectively, I'm a bureaucrat. What naval experience do I have? So, I told them to wait. I then proceeded to go out on a series of raids with the Navy, ignoring some directives from the Naval High Command that I probably should have followed, but thankfully the Emperor was supportive of my decision. I acquired some combat experience, and after that I returned. I then proceeded to dress them down further on the second incident, and then, very quietly, ordered their entire crew for retraining. Those ships are getting entirely different crews. The gun crews are being sent back to basic, and the commanders have temporarily been removed from their posts, including the captains of those vessels. The Rita and the Asahi's captains are going to be spending the next few months on land explaining themselves to the Admiralty. I am not going to deal with ships that cannot shoot. The guns can hit. So, I asked them this. The guns were fine. Normal wear and tear, but no major flaws. Heck, I even asked some of the Western shipbuilders who were there, including my own friends, to look over the ships in an independent investigation, and they said the guns were fine. So, we looked at the aiming equipment. Well, it's in good shape. It's being well taken care of. So, somewhere along the line, something is failing. I personally don't like to assign blame. For people to take individual responsibility, but in this case, because it was so flagrant, I had to put my foot down. So, for the time being, they'll find themselves on land, and maybe I'll consider relenting to some of the other admirals and the Chief Admiral of the Navy, his opinion to let them get back into service. I'll see how I feel. This new Sino-Japanese War, as the press is calling it, seems to be relatively in our favor. Oddly, I believe that the major advantage comes from having more modern ships, especially the Fuso and the Choyo. We did design some battle cruisers, and I hope to see them soon in combat, but then again, I can't hope for much these days. It's all so frustrating to have ships that can't hit their targets. It seems there's a report coming in of another battle. I should probably read it and, considering the time, get some sleep.